So when we first put in a well or determine where the well is going to go, we use this frame as a gauge to determine the distance between the two panels on either side of the well. So as you can see, the frame is just notched in around the panel on either side. And if I were to lift on this outer part, it would drop down simply because it's not when it's up here, it's held pinching the panel a little bit, so that gets it in position, kind of ready for you to put the sides and front on. So we're gonna go ahead and cut these sides in the front of the well. Now these panels on either side, right here and the other one over there, need to be plumb, so you'll have to check them with a level. Make sure they're both plumb so the well fits nice and tight around it. There's a little bit of give in it because the caulking can fill, up to a 1/4 inch maybe, but you don't want any more than that. So closer they are to plumb, the better off you are for the well installation. So we're going to go over and next watch how we cut the sides and the front and the lid. Now we're over here by where the well parts are laying here ready to be cut. As you can see, we've got 2 panels stacked in this stack here, and that's going to be the 2 sides, so we're going to cut them both simultaneously. And then we have the others are laying out here. They're going to become the front and lid. So this little white mark right there indicates that that's the back of the panel. The other panels you see don't have that white scribbly mark. Those are the front of the panel facing outside the house. And in the case of a lid, that scribbly mark's got to face down in the lid. So if I lift this up, you'll be able to see underneath that the back of that panel is facing towards the ground. So we have the front of it facing the front of this one, and that's the way you gotta line them up. We're gonna get those, we'll realign these and then make our cut. Okay, part of the process here is that he is getting the ground ready for the sides and the front. Just leveling it out around the perimeter of the well and trying to pack in the soil a little bit. There he's making sure that the 30-inch panel height is going to work, and then he can adjust the height as he needs to. Now he's off to go cut the well. We'll go over there and follow him. So here he has his tools ready, and he's getting his dust mask on and earplugs in, ready for cutting. So we'll watch him. He's gonna lay out the marks on it. And we don't actually use pencils. We just lay a board down and cut along the edge of the board. cut. Okay, so we watched them cut the angle. The 2 inches is what we do on that angle. So from 2 to nothing, or whatever, it just gives it a 2-inch slope for the well lid so that rainwater will shed off of it. If you notice, he made his cut and then came back through and cut the fabric with the saw. Be careful cutting the fabric in the proper direction so it doesn't wind up into the saw. But now we're going to go watch them put the well together. So he's putting the sides on now, and as he does it, you just got to be watching that you get the one side in while you're putting the second side in. You don't want the first one falling over, so be careful as you're lifting the frame. So now he's just adjusting his grade to get the panel to the right height with a little bit of gravel. And you want a 1 inch, 3/4 to 1 inch gap, no more than 1 inch, about a 3/4 inch gap at the top between the frame and the belly band. So he's just checking his gap with his thumbs. All right, next step is going to be cutting the front piece and getting it placed in there. All right, so he's checking the height to see if he can make the 30-inch panel work or if he has to cut it to height. And then he's going to go cut it. So now he's got to cut it to width and height. Well, sometimes you don't have to cut it to height if it's already 30 inches. You could always dig down a little bit and get the 30-inch height to work with, so you don't have to cut it. But he's just going to cut the width. Getting all prepared. Okay, so the piece is cut. He's going to carry it over and we'll watch him put it up in place. So it was a little high, so he's got to adjust the grade. He just uses the panel to dig in a little bit. Gets it to the height he wants, and you got to hold with your fingers the two sides. And you lay the fabric out. Now we're ready for a lid. And I just want to observe, see how the white scribbly marks are on the inside. This one's all covered in dust, but you can see the white scribbly mark there. And he's got a gap for the lid to fit in underneath it's going to go right in underneath the belly band, the trim board there. And then these are fitting over the panel on either side. And that little gap is okay. We don't do anything about that. That's it's all sealed on the inside because the panel is tight behind there, so no way rodents are going to get through that. And then we've got the fabric laying out in all directions, ready for backfill to go on it. And as you can see, this side, that's how high the backfill is. It's going to be right up there near the lid height when they're all done backfilling. Yeah, now he's going to get ready to cut the well lid. And he's selected from the panels to get, you know, this one's going to have the most visibility of all panels. So he's got to choose one that doesn't have a little chip on the corner or something, you know, like this one has. But, okay. Alright, that cut he didn't do with a straight edge, he just eyeballed it. But that's because he's got a good eye. So we'll take it and go use it as a lid now. Show you how we put them in. Puts the places the cut side in underneath the home, and the factory edge points out. So then he wants to decrease that gap a little bit. He's going to raise his panel up. Places a little more rock under there. He's going to be able to lift this into place on a little more rock, get that tighter for the lid. Pushes the lid out of the way slightly, and then he can put the lid back in. Just the final adjustments. There he goes. Now it's all the code requires is that it's less than a 1/4 inch gap there. And it is, so. And he's just bringing everything up a little bit to adjust. Lining up the corners. And that completes our installation. You can, and then we go ahead and caulk the joints. He takes the tube out after it's been emptied, and he uses the empty hole in the end to scrape off the excess. We don't want to smear the caulking onto the surface of the panels. We just want it in the joint. There it goes. You can tap it on the ground. It kind of encourages the caulking to slip down inside the tube so you can use it more. And you're just putting the powder, a little bit of the cement powder, blends it in better to the surface. And that completes the well installation.